Excellent, and we can get started. Just as a little kind of update for everyone, we have muted everyone when they entered the meeting. So if you can just kind of keep that in mind, just to kind of help reduce some disruptions. We will have some moments for question and answer periods throughout the presentation. You're more than welcome to take yourself off mute to ask questions, or of course, you can always put those questions down in the chat box. Some things we're going to review today, we're going to go over the timeline, giving us some good insights to our patient all in one spot. And in that review, we're going to go over the patient health card, the timeline, the client communications module that's new within the timeline, and the client updates that we can be getting from our pet parents. Mira and I are excited to host this today. I see a lot of familiar faces.
Nice seeing all of you here. So first of all, thank you very much for joining. For those who don't know me, I am Mira, part of our customer success team. So here, as you can see, is 2022, the year in review. Actually, if I can be more precise, it's just half a year in review, because we started in July this year to have this webinar series. So far, these are the ones that we've hosted. You can see all the recordings on our YouTube page. And of course, this is the last one of the year. And thank you very much for joining these webinars. For those who joined before, you know already how they are organized. What we are trying to do here is pretty much to just present and gather all of you in the same, let's say, virtual room, and present one of our latest releases or different topics, like the one we had with veterinary marketing, but also with smart payments with our partners from VetBay and so on. So just if you didn't join before, go ahead and watch the recordings that we have on our YouTube page. As Amanda said at the beginning, this webinar will be more focused on the new timeline, but of course we can't just jump directly to the timeline without speaking a bit about the new health card. So I saw that almost everybody that joined here the webinar is quite new in our let's say family, but there are also some older users, and I know that you also started to use digital with the old version of the health card. Well, it's time to change it, and it's time to start using the new one, and that's why we will just focus a bit at the beginning of this webinar to talk about the new health card. This first part will be structured in two sections. So of course, we will just review quickly what the new health card includes. And here I'm referring to the client card and of course to the patient card. As you can see here, the client card, it has, let's say, general overview. On the right side, all the time in the health card, you will have information about the pet parent. You have those three little dots on the right side where you can edit client or manage alerts, the ones that you see on top, colored with different, let's say, information that will just raise your attention from the beginning. Also, you can see all the pets that client has. And down below under invoices, you see all the invoices that were generated and all the sales that were generated under that name. Taking consideration that every time in this invoices field, you will have all the sales. It doesn't matter in which patient's health card you are. So if a client has more than 2 pets, these invoices will be for all of them. As well, some recent updates that maybe you didn't notice is the possibility to consolidate an invoice from that card. So where is the blue arrow there pointed, but also the little down arrowhead will allow you to generate a statement over a specific period of time. We will have Amanda later on to just show you directly how things work in digital, but I will give you a brief presentation first. Well, as I was saying, we have the client card, but also the patient card. So as well, similar to what we have in the client card, the patient card has a brief or a general overview where you can see information at a glance about that patient. Also, by clicking on those three little dots, you have multiple action buttons where you can edit, patient information or pet information, where you can manage alerts, change the owner, or archive that pet. Of course, the weight graph is something that you had also in the previous health card, but here we have some updates. First of all, you can see the evolution of the weight if the vet updated it, the client, or both combined. And you can change if it is in kilograms or pounds. Then the alerts, of course, similar to what we saw in the client's card, you can just manage pet alerts and have them selected on top of the pet's name, just to see it easily based on the description that you want to use. Next on the patient card, as you saw probably, so we have the general overview and down below some tabs. So 5 tabs about preventative diets, medication, and so on. And of course, afterwards, we have the timeline. So here in the patient card, what you will see will be about preventative medication or history of that patient. So you will see a difference between the medication that is added here, or the preventative, let's say, treatment that is added here. You have the possibility to manually add any preventative treatment that was done in the past, so prior to coming to your clinic. But you can also add any medication directly in the SOAP or in the medical record, and it will be automatically synced in the health card. In order to differentiate these two, let's say, possibilities, you have that little paper icon in front of the date that will tell you that, okay, this treatment comes from a SOAP. And then, of course, you have, similar to what I was mentioning about the statements, you have that down arrowhead, which will allow you to download a full list of all the preventative treatment that was done for that patient. Next, we have that medication tab, which I'm just jumping over the diets because the diets is quite straightforward. We'll just sync automatically from the medical record all the products that are part of the diet category. But more important is to discuss a bit about medication tab. So here at this moment, you have the possibility to manually add a medication. You can leave, let's say, the status of that treatment as being an active treatment. And once the treatment stops, you can just change it and make it inactive. As I was saying, at this moment, you have the possibility to manually add this treatment in the health card, but we will have some great updates soon. So I will just ask Amanda to go to the next slide, which will allow you to add medication also in the SOAP or medical record. It will sync automatically to the health card, and you will also have the possibility to do easy refills, because this was the main idea, and this is our end goal in the end. We just released so far the first version, so some more updates will come soon, which will have a full functionality for what you need. Another part of this, let's say, med module will be the possibility to write or, let's say, have prescriptions very easily generated directly from the SOAP. So I just wanted to touch base a bit about what's coming next, because it is part of the health card as well. So just to keep you a bit excited and see that we are still working on some improvements on that part. Well, the last part is also in the patient card about labs and diagnoses. As you most probably noticed, in the labs section, it is also an automated synchronization between the medical record and the health card. Initially, we synchronized only the values that were manually inputted in the SOAP, but now you also have the possibility to see all the labs that are done within our integrations. So if you have integration with IDEX, Antech, or Zoetis, all of the lab requests and the results will be displayed directly in the health card under Labs tab. And lastly, of course, is the diagnosis subsection, where you can see at a glance all the diagnoses that were, let's say, added in a SOAP over a specific period of time. Now, I think Amanda is, let's say, ready to just show you directly in detail all these steps briefly, because we don't want to spend too much time here, more on the timeline. And then in the meantime, if you have questions, you can just prepare them and write them in the chat afterwards.
Perfect. Thanks, Mira. So yeah, just a little overview here. We're currently looking at a health card. So the new health card, this is the patient side. So all of Caius's information is here with his fun little alerts. We also have the client information here on the far right-hand side with the client-specific alerts as well. You can see all the pets that this client has. So they're all listed here. And when we go ahead, and I know Mira had mentioned in the client card side of things, if we click on the invoices, this is where we can consolidate an invoice. So we can click on that. There's lots of information within Digital on how to create these consolidated invoices, but you can select any of the open invoices that are there just by pressing on the simple little plus buttons. And then you can easily press on the generate consolidated invoice button here. You can see it has the 2 different visits that we had for this patient. And so we can say generate consolidated invoice and go through that flow. Once we have that consolidated invoice created, of course, we can send it to the client. We can download it, print it, anything like that. From the invoice section as well, the little download arrow is where you can create those statements. And if you are integrated with VetPay, you can send a payment link with those statements as well directly in the email. That's the same with the consolidated invoices as well. We also have, as Mira mentioned, in the new health card for the patient side, the preventive section. So again, all of these items are coming from the product categories that are set within Digital. So when I have this canine Bordetella vaccine, for example, under the product category of Bordetella, that's what's popping it onto this preventive section. You can see that we can also add rapid tests. Caius doesn't have an example here of that, but we can add rapid tests. So things like your SNAP tests for your heartworm tests, things like that, you can easily add here and get a nice little snapshot. As Mira mentioned, any of the items that we are looking at on the health card, if there is a little clipboard or a paper, it will jump you directly to the record where this item came from. So you can see that my Bordetella vaccine, for example, if I click on the clipboard, it would jump me directly to this record when this occurred. On the other hand, if I had manually entered this item by pressing on the little plus and syringe here for the vaccine, I would just have the little pencil beside it that indicates that this came from a manual entry. Same thing with the labs. Again, any of the clipboards, I can click on those and easily jump to the records as well as the diagnosis. Keep in mind as well that the wording that is coming here in the diagnosis section is actually coming from the description, and that can be set up in the admin panel with the diagnosis list. If you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to reach out to your account manager directly.
Amanda, while presenting, I just realized that we have a little slight visible purple button next to both patient's name but also client's name that allow you to see all the changes that were done over that patient card. So I realized that while creating the presentation, I didn't say anything about that little purple button. So you can see it next to, let's say, Caius's name with the blue name on top. You have a little purple button. It's a bit on top. Yeah.
Did you find something new?
Yeah. I just realized that I know about it for a long time. So just go with your mouse underneath exitable alert. Exactly. Yep. Underneath, yeah, you have a little purple button there, exactly that one. So I realized that not everybody knows about that little purple dot that will allow you to see if there were any changes done over the patient, or of course you have the same one on the client's name. So here, if you want to track or check any changes, you can directly see them here.
Awesome. I actually just clicked on
the name.
On the name. So you don't have to try and find a tiny little purple button. So we learn something new every day. Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks.
of
Anna.
course.
Perfect.
Okay, so I think it's time because yeah, I feel like we presented a bunch of information. So if any of you have some questions about the health card, you can just address them now. Of course, we will have another Q&A session at the end after we talk about more about the timeline. But if you want to specifically know something about the health card, just address the questions directly in the chat. Nice, thanks, Brooke, for asking this question. So the add soap button is now part of the timeline. So if you will go back, Amanda, to digital screen, you will see it down below. In the timeline, you have an add new blue button, and that one will allow you to add a new soap, but it will also allow you directly to select from the list of your templates. So in case you have a list of templates created in admin panel, you can directly select them from here, or otherwise you can just create a new soap.
Sorry, I was going to say it's important to note too that when we add a new soap, either from here or from the add soap button down here, it's not connecting that record to an appointment. So keep that in mind because we're going to show you the timeline and how you can actually have records and appointments linked, which can be important down the road. So just kind of keep that in mind.
I see that Joe first is asking about a guide to setting up lab integrations. Yes, of course. So in our help center, which can be easily accessible from your account, just by clicking on your user icon on the upper right corner, you can go straight to the help center. And depending on what integration you want to enable, you will find information about IDEX, Antec, and Zoetis integrations and step-by-step instructions on how to do that.
Of course, if you have questions about any of those items as well, you can always reach out to your account manager directly. They're always happy to help. And Brooke, can you text owners from Digital? If you have texting enabled on your account, you definitely can. The best way to do that would be to click on, sorry, I have to move my screen, send message right here. So send message, it's just at the bottom on the left-hand kind of patient panel here. You can select if it's an email or an SMS, and you can fill in your text there. Please keep in mind, though, that the text messages that come from Digital are one-way texts only, so your clients won't be able to text you back. If you want to have that two-way communication, that's where you're going to go to the chat with the app, so you can have that conversation directly with your client. Good questions.
This is a great question. Actually, it is related to what we will discuss at the end of the timeline presentation, where we will go a bit deeper into the client communication part. But that was, you know, just the starting point.
Yeah.
I see that Sharia is asking you. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Amanda. Another question.
Yeah. So current state right now, Sherry, any prescriptions or medications that are put into the medical record are not automatically flowing into this medication tab. Right now, these medications that are coming onto Caius's med tab have been manually added by pressing on the purple pill button there. What is coming down the road, and quite soon, hopefully, I know our team is working really hard on the development of this, is going to be those features that Mira was showing, where when you add the prescription in the record, it will flow into the medication tab, just like it is right now with the vaccines. Perfect, good questions. Shall we move on? See what's exciting in the timeline?
Yeah. Of course, if you have more questions, just prepare them, and we will have a longer Q&A session at the end. So now the timeline. This is actually why we gathered all together here to discuss more about the timeline. What we wanted to pretty much do during this last webinar was to talk about our biggest releases of the year, because both the health card and the timeline were the main releases that we've done in the past year. So that's why we wanted to combine both of them, but also because they are just linked one to the other one. So the timeline is part of the health card. If you click on the new health card and scroll a bit down below, you will see the timeline, which includes these 5 tabs: appointments, records, tasks, communication, and client updates. The idea was to just have everything on one screen. So of course, we just have to click on some subsections or submenus, but everything is just in one screen. So I will start with the appointments. Here we will just present it on, let's say, sections, and Amanda will take over after each section. So as you can see, the appointments tab will display all the appointments that were, let's say, booked or scheduled for that patient. They will be displayed one underneath the other one. You have the possibility to check if you want to see only a specific category, like confirmed appointments or the pending ones or the missed ones, and so on. As Brooke was asking before, when you click on add new, you have the possibility to add a new appointment directly from here. What I like personally a lot is that bar, colorful bar that you see underneath. It will just display when it was more, let's say, activity over a specific period of time. So when you see colors there, it means that multiple appointments were done during that time, and you can just select, I don't know, you want to see everything that has happened in November or just in the second part of November, and then you will see all the appointment types over that specific period of time. Of course, you have some actions that you can do directly from this appointments timeline. You can check the client in if it's not already in progress. You can directly open the medical record or the SOAP. You can reschedule or edit that appointment, mark it as a no-show, or cancel it. And of course, you can see directly the appointment status. So if it is a confirmed one, a pending one, a request, or so on, you will easily see all of them in that card. And as you are already used to, that little plus comment sign will allow you to leave some comments, which will be all the time internal. So now I think Amanda can straight away show you exactly what I just present.
You bet. So again, we're in Caius's health card. If I just scroll down a little bit, I'm going to get to our timeline. It does automatically default to records because I think most people kind of want to head there when they look at a history, but we can just click on appointments here. I can get a nice overview so I can see all of the appointments. Like Mira said, I can check in this appointment directly from here. If it is an appointment that has a record attached to it, I can click on the little record number and that will open that record for me. So this is where I was mentioning we can have records that are attached to appointments, and those are happening by opening a record or checking them in directly from the appointment calendar. Like Mira said, we can add a filter as well. So we can look at all of our appointment statuses: confirmed, recommended, pending, missed, and canceled. We can filter by date, and we can also change our filter here if we're searching by services. So if we wanted to look for a specific appointment type, you can search for that, as well as specific providers, or even if you had a multi-practice location, you can search for multiple appointments within different clinics that you have. And here's just the colorful little timeline. Looks like Caius hasn't been here for very, very often, which is good. Good for me. But you can see all the little colorful icons here. And just keep in mind, each of these colors that are showing up here actually correspond to the appointment colors that you have that block off on your calendar. Excellent. On to records.
Good. So the second sub menu or subsection or field is the records part. Similar to what we saw under appointments, you will see the medical records, of course, with a bit of more information. So you have the possibility, which is a great, let's say, improvement or a great update that we've done, is to just ping the most important record. So let's just imagine those scenarios when you have a patient with a major surgery or something like a major visit, when you diagnosed it with, I don't know, disease, and you want all the time to just be in front of you when you access the health card. So just by clicking on that little pin button, you can have the most important medical record on the right side. Besides that, of course, you have an overview of what was written in that SOAP or in that medical record. You can see easily the status of that SOAP, if it is a draft or a saved or, of course, a closed SOAP. You can leave comments similar to what we saw for the appointments. The little paper blue icon that you see on the right side, the one in a blue circle, that one means that an invoice was generated. And what we see on the pinned medical record on the right side, we also see that some attachments were uploaded to that SOAP. Of course, the three little dots allow you to have the same actions that you are used to from the patient's records view. And you can edit, duplicate, send record summary via email, or use the advanced record options.
So what that looks like directly in Digital, because we always like to show you what it looks like in real life. If I click on the records tab here, again, you can see all the records that Caius has had. And these might be a little bit different than the appointments one. So this would be, we might have extras. You can see there are more records than there are appointments when I look at the timeline. And that's because in these examples, we've gone ahead and just said add SOAP or done add new and add SOAP this way. So these are records that have been created that aren't attached specifically to appointments. As Mira mentioned, we have our important record that's been pinned on the side. I love this for things, I mean, I come from internal medicine, but I love it for things like my Addisonian patients or our diabetic patients, things like that, that we want to quickly reference all the time. You can see everything is kind of going in chronological order, and you get this really nice overview of what happened in that record without needing to actually get into it. But again, like everywhere in Digital, if you click on the clipboard, it's just going to open that record for you, and you can have a look at the full history of the full record that was completed. Again, just like we had with the appointments where you can filter, change filters, we can search for the sale type, the payment status. And again, if you are at a multi-location practice, you can click on clinics and look at records from multiple clinics at the same time. Also for diagnosis and services as well, you can filter. Lots of filtering options so you can get all the information you need. Excellent. Should we go to tasks? Well, I think Mira is frozen. All right. That's okay. We can move on with tasks. So on the next section that you can easily look at from the timeline are any or all tasks that are related to the specific patient. We did have a release recently where we have the ability to have a status for tasks. So we can have tasks as completed, sort of pending, so they haven't been completed, or overdue. So in this example, you can see there's an overdue one. It's marked as red. This one's been completed. We checked it off. It's all good. Directly from the health card for that patient, you can leave comments on the task. You can mark the task as done, and you can update or delete the task as needed. So what that looks like directly in Digital, let me just get there for you. So if I click on tasks now, I can see all of the tasks that are here for this patient. Luckily, we've been a good clinic and we've called back and followed up on all of our tasks that we needed to here. Some of these tasks were added directly from here. So we could say add new and add a task. Again, this can also be done directly in the appointment calendar. We can also add tasks directly in the record. I know that this one is actually added directly from a record because there is the clipboard. And like I mentioned before, if I want to, I can click on the clipboard and I'll see the task that was assigned, and I can see the whole entire record where this task was assigned from. So I can get a good overview. This is really helpful for tasks that are related to post-procedure callbacks, for example. So your team can easily click on the clipboard and then review what happened during the surgical procedure and give the client a phone call. As well, from here, I can click on the three dots, and this is going to allow me to edit the task if I needed to. So I can assign it to somebody else, or I can assign it to a specific time. I can also say if I'm available for appointments or not during that time period. And I can also, if need be, delete the task, but hopefully we don't need to do that. And just like everywhere else in Digital, if we needed to add a comment, I can just press on the little comment bubble here, and these comments will be time and date stamped as well with the user that's adding the comment, keeping in mind that every time a comment is added, they're always internal and private. So they won't be shared when you share your records. They won't be shared with clients or anything like that. It's more for internal communication purposes. Let's go.
I am back.
Mira's back.
Sorry for that.
Great.
I just had disconnection in my connection.
Not a problem.
So sorry. I'm glad to be back. Thanks for taking over. Yeah.
Yeah, we went over tasks and now we're on to client communication.
Awesome. This is these last two sections are my favorite ones, to be honest, from the timeline. I know they're not, I mean, the medical records are more practical and useful for a practitioner, but the client communication and the client updates are really, really nice features. So what we have right now, you can see on the left-hand side, what was already released in Digital. As mentioned a couple of times already, when you click on the Add New button, you have the possibility to add different things, including the communication. So you can directly log a phone call where you can write down a brief summary of what was discussed with the client or with the pet parent, but you can also choose the possibility to add another interaction or other type of interaction where you can also write down some brief summaries. A nice thing is that if a client has multiple pets, you can directly assign more than one directly in the communication node, and that note will be visible in both health cards or in all the health cards where you assign that note. What we have as a future update, and that this is related to what Brooke was asking before, is the possibility to send an email directly from this tab, to also text a message and log the phone call or other interaction. What we want to do, and the end goal of this let's say screen, will be to have everything in one place. So without going to send a message on the left-hand side, select if you want to send a message or an email, you will just have everything directly in one screen.
So just as a quick overview, directly in Digital, if we go to our client communication tab, you can see again what days we've had those client communications. So a nice visual overview. We can filter by date. Again, we can change the filters and see who's done the client communication. And again, what clinic. We can also easily see our check-ins and all of our phone calls that we've had. Where Mira was saying we can add multiple pets. This one actually was assigned to both Caius and Daisy at that time. So if I go and edit this record, you can see Caius is here, but Daisy was actually on there as well. And if I went to Daisy's record, she would have a callback that was exactly the same. So it's my kind of perfect one for if there's a multi-pet family that you're checking in after vaccines or after a double pet, maybe spay or neuter, you get the family that gets 2 kittens at the same time. You can easily log all those communications right there. Excellent.
And the last part is about the client updates. So here is a constant communication between you and your clients. So the pet parents having the app installed can directly give you some updates about what's happening with their pet. So for example, in this short video on the right side, you see me writing some notes about my dog Marble, who is feeling good after the surgery. And this note is available in the PIMS. So you as a veterinarian, as a main, let's say, provider, have the possibility to see in writing, receive some pictures or videos from your client about their pet. So pretty much after surgeries or different procedures, your clients can give you some updates, which will be directly visible in the health card I'm referring here in the timeline. Make sure to inform your clients or educate your clients if they leave some updates or client notes to just make them public. So right now on the right side, you can see the type. It can be public or private. So in order for you to be able to see these notes, they just need to leave the notes public.
Awesome reminder, Mira. When I go to the clients section here, right in Caius's note, I can see there was just a general note that we had put here, just saying Caius is awesome. And today there was a med update that Caius is doing well on his new medication. And of course, this is coming from a public update from the client. Keep in mind as well that these updates from the client aren't going to continually ping you as the kind of hospital or the doctor. And the reason for that is we can't restrict what the clients are sending you or setting as being public. So, you know, if you had a client that was posting a lot in their app, it would update here constantly for you, which is excellent source of information. But we don't want to bombard you with notifications that aren't necessarily relevant. So I would just encourage your clients, if they do have something where you need to monitor something together, probably in the chat or updates on the app with maybe a quick little daily chat would be a great option. Or I've had clinics that have tasks to check on patients that they know that they're doing med checks on daily or something like that. Excellent. All right.
And I think we are done.
Everything. That's everything. I saw some questions that came in, and I'm sure there's some more questions as well.
Me too. To be honest, I thought that the timeline part will take longer, but I feel like it's quite straightforward. So this is the idea in the end, to just be really easy to use and pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
I see that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. I was going to say, I saw that there was a question about if we can make notes on why the appointment was canceled. So you have a couple options there. So if you did cancel an appointment, so we could go and just cancel this one for today. You can edit it, and you can always add an internal note as to why you canceled that appointment. You also can click on the little comment bubble here and add a comment there as to why that appointment was canceled, and it will still be tied to that. Good question.
I see that Brooke is asking a nice question here. If she can see easily, let's say at the end of the day, all the pets that were seen during that day, there are multiple options to do that. If you ask me, I think the more straightforward one is by using the flow board, where you can filter the view just to display the patients seen by a specific user. And I see Amanda is gonna show you right now. So here in the flowboard, by default, you will see all the visits or appointments that were scheduled for today. And you can apply some filters on top and just select your name here, and you will see only the visits that were scheduled under your name. Of course, at the end of the day, you will expect to have almost all of the cards under closed or pending checkout. And this is a good possibility to see which ones are still in a draft version, because maybe that's a sign for you that you still have to go back to them and maybe finalize your notes in case they don't have this number that Amanda was just showing. So when you see a number, it means that a SOAP was saved. But if you don't save it, it's still in a draft version, and the client can go home and it can be checked out, but you can still leave the medical record in a draft version. Another option to see all the visits over a specific period of time is, of course, in the calendar, but I think you can also go to the visits register where you can filter by your name. So there are multiple options to see all the visits.
Yeah,
over one specific day.
Yeah, it just depends on how each individual person likes to look at the information. So keeping in mind, you can really customize what works best for you and your way of working. So flowboard and columns, list view and appointments, or of course, that visits register as well. And can you use Digital on iPads? You can. You just would be running Chrome on the iPad, essentially exactly how we're doing on our desktop. So if you are going to be planning to use Chrome on iPads, then Digital on iPads, we just recommend to have that Chrome installed, the little Chrome app installed, so that it works the best for you there. And then obviously the bigger the screen, the better it is, easier for you to see what you're doing and easier for your clients if you ever want to flip that iPad over and have them sign any consent forms, things like that.
I see that we have also one more, let's say, mention, not really a question, from Teresa. So she was saying here that if you add a recommended visit on the timeline, it does not show under to be scheduled in the appointments calendar. So I'm not really sure if you know how this is actually behaving, because under to be scheduled in the appointments calendar, you will all the time see the upcoming recommended visits that will that are, let's say, added for the next 30 days. So if I, for example, add a recommended visit now for my dog in 3 months, I'm not going to see it prior to those 30 days. So just keep in mind that under to be scheduled, you will have only the upcoming visits scheduled for the next 30 days.
I did see a question, is there a place where we log TPRs to see a trend? Currently, that is not a feature that we have, but the biggest trending areas are going to be the weight trend within the health card here at the top. Caius doesn't have any client updates. If there were client updates, they would be purple and you could see the difference. But currently things like trend in temperature or pulse over time isn't a feature that we have within the health card or the timeline. Good question.
I see that also someone from Elevate is asking if, or this is the one that you were covering, right? The communication from the soaps, or?
No, it was one higher up, but TPRs.
Okay.
But
okay, that one I didn't see. Okay.
That's okay. Linking communication from soaps to the timeline communication in the health card. Oh, is that because, are you currently, maybe some extra information, are you currently creating a new soap for your client communications? Probably because we didn't have this beautiful client communication button in here.
Yeah, I think this is what they are referring to. And right now, those, let's say, medical records that were pretty much templates, I imagine, that you added, they will just stay like that. But starting now, of course, since you have this update here with the client communication, you can just go ahead and keep record of your communications logs directly in the timeline.
Excellent. I see there's a couple other questions that aren't related to the timeline or the health card. And we just want to be mindful of people's time here. I'm sure we can get into some other things as well. Of course, if we aren't able to answer everyone's questions here that aren't related to timeline or health card, please don't hesitate. Reach out to our support channels or to your account manager directly. They're always more than able to help. Let's see if we can kind of pinpoint any of the ones that are client card or health card or timeline related, and then we'll jump to others. I don't know if you see any, Mira, that you can focus.
I'm just trying to read all of them.
Yeah.
I see that Tracy was asking if there is a way to add the weight from a year ago so it doesn't get recorded for the date on which you added it. To be honest, I never had this question before, but I have something in my mind, and you can try, Tracy, to see how it works. What you can do, you can add a new soap or a new medical record that you can backdate, and you can even tag it under like the service type. You can add history, for example, and in that soap you can add the weight of that animal with a backdate. But again, I didn't test it before, so I'm not sure if in the health card will display the weight of the animal under the correct date. I think that's under objective vitals, where you can add the weight of the patient, but next to the services where Amanda just added history, you have the possibility to backdate. So that might work, but if you want, you can give it a try and see.
That's what I was thinking too, Mira. Great minds. Excellent. Excellent. All right.
I see that Shari is asking, she's saying that they have an animal in the system, but the new owner is not. So what you can do, Shari, here is easily just click on change owner, what I was showing earlier, or Amanda was also showing in the health card. And when you click on change owner, you have the possibility to create a new owner directly from that step. So if you don't have that specific client in your list of clients, when you click here, you have down there a new owner field. Exactly what Amanda is showing. So if you want to change the pet's owner to a new user, someone that's never been registered to your account, you can just click here and create a profile for them.
Got that. Sorry, I'm just quickly reading through the comments. Someone wants to see what a 2-doctor schedule looks like. I can quickly show you that. So if we go to the appointments, again, this all depends on each person can change their filter for what they want to see. So automatically, all of the active users will be on the filter over here, but you can just select who you'd like. So both doctors, maybe also if there were technician appointment column that you want to have as well. In this example, let's pick Dr. Connolly and Dr. O'Neill and prescription refill. That's who we're looking at. We'll get rid of not assigned. And now we can look at the schedule for these guys. So it looks like everybody's available from 9 until sometime, 9 until 9. We're open late today. So we can see all of those appointments for all of these providers just there. So each provider gets their own column, and you can see all of the appointments for each provider there. Excellent.
Great, thank you for taking that, Amanda. I see that there are not too many questions coming over, so we are anyway covering the time. I see that Shari, you said something about combining the records. If this is something that is like an issue or a bug that is not working correctly on your end, we highly suggest you to reach out to our team directly on the support chat, and you can just give us some more details there directly, because right now we want to address the questions related to our topic in this webinar. So if there are any others, just take advantage of the last minutes and let us know if you have more questions.
And I think a good overview too for everyone is just that if you do have any questions or need any help, there always is our chat support. So the little chat at the bottom right hand side, you can always send us a message. Our support team is happy to help there. Also, if you just had a how do I question, you can put that in the chat there as well. But you also can view some articles that are in here. These articles are also the same articles that are in the Help Center we referenced before. And there also is the little pop-ups of what's new in Digital, so you can get up to date with all of our new releases that are coming. So actually, we skipped right through something that does relate to our client card is secondary phone numbers. So now you can add 2 phone numbers for a client. I know that's been a common request. Keep in mind that the primary number is the one that we recommend if you have texting available. That primary number we recommend to have as the mobile number. That's going to be the one that's used to send those text messages. Wonderful.
Thanks so much for all these details, Amanda. I'm sure that each one of our let's say, users that joined this webinar know exactly who to reach out to. So we are here for you anytime. It's either me, Amanda, your account executive, or support team. You are all in constant contact with us. So just don't hesitate to continue doing that, because that's why we are here.
Perfect. And keep those suggestions coming. We always appreciate your feedback so that we can all work together to make digital the best ever.
Thank you everyone for joining the meeting, and keep an eye on our announcements, because of course next year we'll just continue with this webinar series. So far it was a huge success, so we are happy to just gather all of you here and learn something new.
Perfect. Thank you.